everyone, Andy's here. Hello, Andy.
Oh, all right.
Andy's an old veteran of the pod now on your third, or it's at least third, if not fourth.
Yeah, it's been, we're almost at a handful.
It's incredible.
Clutch. But there you go. Well, thank you for joining us. I don't know whether this is going to be tradition, whether every year we kick off with you. It seems unnecessary, but thank you for kicking off season 3 at the very least.
We start at the bottom, Nick, and then we can just work up from there. So
absolutely, yeah. The only way is up, right?
I like to reset every year. I like to reset expectations for the entire pod. So this is good. I like being the annual guest.
Give us the bar, and then we know how far we're going to go. Right, I'm going to get this sentence out so it kills me. For those who don't know, Andrew Hayes, Andy to his mother, was the commissioner of the Midwest Premier League, a founding father, someone who got the league to a wonderful place, but has stepped down. I'm sure we will touch on that at some point. Well, I know we will because I've got some questions, but we wanted to get you on. Basically, this isn't going to be a build it like how do you start a club, etc., etc. This is more of a league review, hopefully of value to people outside of the Midwest Prem, but certainly of value, I'd have thought, to the 20 or so clubs that are within the Midwest Prem. And that alone, the fact that we've got 20 or so, how many clubs have we got now, give or take, officially?
20,
how many ended the season?
27.
27, geez. That alone is pretty damn impressive, right? That's scary, actually, if you sit back and think of it, coming through from an idea that started on someone's kitchen table. So kudos to you guys and whoever else helped to drive it. I don't know where to start with this. I guess season review. John is here in his capacity as, what were you, John, in the league?
I'm hopefully someday soon to be the former president, but I'm currently still the president of the
president versus commissioner.
Premier
Okay.
League.
Yeah, I don't really know what the difference between a president and a commissioner is. You're both middle-aged men with beards, as far as I can tell, and that's which is all we need. And are you going to settle down at some point? It's like talking to a 5-year-old.
No, yes, it is like talking to a 5-year-old. And no, I won't settle down anytime soon because I don't know how to sit still.
Okay, fair enough.
As you guys are probably know that by now, and I don't think either of you are really good at sitting still.
Well, no. I know. I am very, very good at it. It is my favorite thing to do, as my daughter will testify. But I get the feeling that with you two, you're not Netflix and chill gentlemen at all. And I feel like that's one of the reasons why the league is where it's at, because you don't sit resting your laurels and whatever. So, without going on the negative stuff first, let's talk about the positive stuff. 27 clubs. How did the league get there? Word of mouth? Did you go and pilfer people? What happened?
Go ahead, Andy.
It started out really word of mouth. A core group of folks who had either started or were running clubs, and we really started with just 4 clubs back in the end of toward the end of the fall 2019, and then recognizing that the current capacity of Old Boys at the time wasn't going to be returning to where it was. John and I kind of connected and batted the idea around of me coming on as an independent commissioner, I guess initially, or really just independent voice to the group to have a conversation to see what makes sense for us to build a league. Doesn't make sense. We obviously decided ultimately, it does, and to provide what we view as meaningful to clubs, since we have all either run, started, or in some form or fashion been involved with non-league soccer in the United States, get involved and try to build to paraphrase an idiot pundit on one of the soccer channels, build a better mousetrap. So we did that.
I want it on record. I like Alexi. I don't agree with him, but I like him. I think he does what he does very, very well. I would love to get one here. Like I think he's outsmart me.
He's good. It is what it is. He's fine.
Yeah. No,
so if I crush your chances of getting him on the podcast, Nick, my apologies in perpetuity.
But we may be able to exchange notes on cat weasel beards from the 1990s. It's fine. But that's a British reference nobody else will get. Anyway, sorry, carry on, Andy.
So so with that, we kind of started with 4 clubs, and it really was word of mouth and just, hey, we're this league. this burgeoning league, we want to build something that makes clubs feel like they're first. And if you are on board with that, or you want to kind of have a conversation and dialogue, we'd love to talk to you. And I don't know that we really, I mean, we weren't pilfering any other leagues. We weren't really, recruiting hard, but we were having open conversations. And I think a couple of us involved, namely John and some others, not me, had built up a really good reputation as far as what they do in the space and can intelligently and somewhat dynamically share the vision of building a true grassroots league. So that's kind of how it started. Then our first year was supposed to be in 2020, and we all happened there in terms of most soccer leagues taking either some type of hiatus or behind closed doors or no supporters at the matches or whatever. So it allowed us time to kind of incubate the idea further, and I think be in better position to kind of launch it fully in 2021. We had two divisions at the time, an East and a West, and was quite successful. I know we recapped that about a year ago. We recapped year one, and it was, by all intents and purposes, it was a rousing success for us, considering none of us, the majority of us, had not really had that experience at the league level before. So we jumped into 2022. And as John mentioned earlier, to kick the things off, we had grown to 27 clubs, up from, I want to say...
We were right at 20.
20.
We had 20 and
That's right.
21, and then 27 and 22.
That's right. We had 12 and 8. And so this year we grew to 27. And we had added a South Division to that. So as John mentioned, we're in 6 states as opposed to the 4 we started with. And it was another very successful season. We had really tight top of the table races everywhere. It was down to the wire for the East, West, and even in the South in terms of who was going to come out and emerge victorious and win the league, or the division. So really, really high level of soccer. I thought from watching some matches online, streaming those that did it, and again, as a reminder, all should. Some didn't, and that's fine. But we were able to kind of preside over, quite honestly, a really exciting season. No one went totally undefeated, which was interesting to see, and not the way it started off. It was we wouldn't have called it like that. So really, really exciting, really fun, and but at the end of it, for me, became a little more of a something I wanted to do long term. It wasn't in line with that, so I think my best bets are at the club level, or my best ability to help influence or help save or help do whatever in soccer is club related, not necessarily league related. But I enjoyed being part of the Midwest Premier League. Get it where it is.
Cool. And we, speaking for everybody else, appreciate your efforts, I'm sure. God, that was dismissive. I'm sure someone appreciates what you did, Andy. I don't know what you did. Anyway, when you say it was successful, what are your KPIs? You said with the professional hat on. What are we talking about? What are you grading success on?
So for me, it's retention rate of clubs that should be in that league. There are clubs that should not be. There were clubs that should not be in that first season, and I'm sure the second season the board's going to have a hard look at some clubs too. But those that carry themselves professionally on the pitch and off, we have high retention rates for those. What we've seen, we've crowned a total of 4 champions. Bavarians did repeat as champions this year on the last day of the season in the West. And we had, again, from a competitive perspective, it was we had a couple at the bottom of the table, but only 1 or 2 matches were really bad in terms of the score line and results, the blowout. We grew. We saw some growth there. We saw, I think, a much improved social media product from the league perspective. Video and marketing groups were unbelievably awesome this year. Again, we had some volunteers doing that, and the way they were able to kind of really differentiate what our league product was relative to either other similar leagues or those above or below us, or however you want to look at that. I think we offered a very unique piece there. A lot of core community focused clubs, growing kind of their brand, and I think with the exception of a couple incidents, was relatively went on without a hitch. So as far as that's concerned, I mean, I think we have the vast majority of folks will be back and enjoyed it. We've done postseason surveys year after year to engage. Hey, what else can we as a league do for you, the club? And we've received very positive feedback on that. Something that's not necessarily super invasive, but gets the message across that the league is definitely here for the club.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. John, I'm conscious I'm hogging all the limelight. Well, Andy's hogging the limelight, but I'm curious, just that last thing that you touched on about the feedback that you're getting from the clubs, largely positive. Can you give us an idea of stuff that the clubs themselves are liking stuff the clubs are liking, and maybe even stuff the clubs aren't liking that might be tweaked going forward?
You want me to take that one?
Either way, yeah, go on.
Well, so I
Either way.
I've reflected on this too. Obviously, I'm biased towards the Midwest Premier League, but I think there's a real we're very genuine. I don't know what the term is. We're very genuine, authentic. None of us is making in this for profit for ourselves or anything like that. We're in it to benefit the clubs. We do reach out as often as we can to the clubs for feedback. Andy mentioned the surveys. We're having a postseason Zoom meeting that'll be scheduled here in the next, I think it'll happen in September, just to kind of get the vibe on everybody. What did they like? What didn't they like? Maybe elaborate a little bit on the surveys. The board that runs it is made up of 6 board members from member clubs. And then we've got some disciplinary committee members that are other club representatives. We've got competition committee that is some other clubs. So almost half the clubs are represented in some sort of rulemaking, leadership, review, whatever. So I think there's a lot of, clubs have a lot of say in what's going on. The big thing, once people take a look at it, is we're actually the most inexpensive option to compete at this level with these types of minimum standards against some of the other leagues. So we're more affordable. We do a lot. Well, we attempt, and then again, we just finished our second year. So some of the things that we'd like to do, we haven't got to yet, but we've got a couple board members talking about some continuing education things that we want to host. Some partners to maybe host a sponsorship seminar for clubs to call in, listen, ask questions from a professional. In a lot of ways, it's the same as the podcast, Nick, where we're trying to get that stuff out there for clubs. But this will allow a little bit more of a Q&A for all of our members and things like that. So we're trying to put together sort of a winter, mini sessions, maybe 4 different topics or whatever. Some of those things are happening, and I think there's just some Andy's got the right word, authenticity. Like we are what we are, and if we're not for you, that's cool. And if we are, let's give it a shot. And if you don't fit the mold, if you can't do the off the field things, one thing that we did more than we want to is enforce minimum standards. And I know it probably doesn't seem like a big task, but when you're essentially auditing every match for 8 or 9 key minimum standards, and then those have to be enforced against the rule book and fines assessed or bond draws or all those things, like it's not just collect the check at the beginning of the year and then you've met your obligation. Like you have to follow through, and that's why some clubs weren't back, and that's maybe why some clubs won't be back, but kind of sticking to what we believe in. And I think that's been a big part of our success and our growth so far, and I'm excited to see where it goes.
Mm-hmm. Do you think that the league is transparent? Do you believe that the league is transparent enough in those prerequisites and core deliverables? Can the league do a better job in communicating?
Who do we need to communicate to? Are you talking about communicating to the applicants, new clubs? Is that what you're referring to?
Anyone. I mean, yes, obviously new applicants need to know, right? But has there been an instance of an existing club claiming they don't know Rule X existed, even though they signed away on it? And also, potentially, now I want to start a club. Is there a way of me finding out other than reaching out to you? Are those criteria available online for my perusal?
It's not. So Andy was part of the expansion committee for, between 21 and 22. Obviously, with him stepping away, he hasn't been involved. But there's three of us on the expansion committee. We've put together a lot of information and tried to do a better job of that. Yes, we've had member clubs that admitted they don't have time to read the rule book, which has caused some headaches. Things like that kind of get a little frustrating, but yeah, we're very transparent on what those things are. And as we go through our ops manual bylaw update here in the off season, those are documents that we certainly share with any club that is serious about it. And we've in our expansion packet that you can reach out through our website and get that information. We have tried to elaborate on some of the things. I think all of this journey has been, to Andy's point, when we started, none of us had run a league really before, except for our buddy Ante, who brings 1,000 years of experience. But the rest of us are
give or take,
yeah, más o menos. Beyond our limited experience, most of us in even running a club, now we're trying to figure out how to run a league. And I think what we've found is that no matter how thorough you are in writing an ops manual, and Andy and I did it before each season, the two of us actually did the updates. No matter what you put in it, there's always a gray area, and that's where it gets a little tricky and quite honestly, takes a lot of time to sort through and sift through the information and the facts of each matter and try to be fair. And then one other thing, speaking of transparency, Nick, is our disciplinary committee, every time they rendered a decision about something that happened, we posted it on the league communication app. So there was transparency. If someone got in trouble or a fine was assessed because they did X, all the other clubs were informed. Now, do we know that everybody read the app and paid attention? No, but that's part of the responsibility. Is we will do a better job communicating it. It's not our fault if you don't read it, though, at that point. And we'll work through some of those as we move along. And having our postseason meetings and our in-person AGM again next year, those are opportunities where we reinforce the expectations. And like I said, we're not afraid to get smaller. If the right clubs, if a club doesn't feel that this is right for them, it's too much, there's too many requirements, then this isn't for you. And we wish you well. We don't want people to fold because of it. Go find your level.
For sure. Let's talk expansion or not expansion, shrinkage, I guess. Either or. Like we said at the beginning, 27 from the original 4 is huge growth. That isn't manageable on a volunteer background, that sort of growth. And if you exponentially grow the same again in the next 2 years, we're talking, depending on which way you grow, either 40 plus clubs or 5 times as many clubs, right? So, which is over 100. I can do my math. So either or is a huge undertaking. How do you foresee it being managed going forward if growth continues? And at what point do you think, Jesus, this is not sustainable, or even this is not what I want to be involved in?
Andy, if you just stick around, we'll be with you in a minute, Andy. You just hang tight. So what we've and this is kudos to Andy, right? Andy was faced with a task of being the commissioner, and one thing that we didn't do a super great job of even 3 years ago was really defining what Andy's role as the commissioner was. And then we said, oh, by the way, now there's 20 clubs. And then, oh, by the way, there's 27 clubs. and just do what you do, right? So in light of Andy's departure, we've taken the time, we put a job description together, and from our conversations at the board level in the last couple of weeks, ideally what we would like to have is a commissioner of each conference, as well as a marketing person, and pay those people a small stipend, a large stipend if we had it, but a stipend nonetheless, and really define what those expectations are. Because to your point, Nick, I think it becomes borderline unsustainable for the individuals involved to keep piling on and expecting them to be able to monitor. And I'd love to hear Andy actually go through some of the stuff too, but like all the things you have to keep track of on a match week, and confirming things and answering questions and stuff. That's how we see trying to solve that problem moving forward, is actually sort of to divide and conquer.
No, John, it is going to take, I think, more folks as the league continues to grow and looking at what is a manageable workload to kind of meet those expectations. It was, there were some things I didn't have to get involved in too much, but I don't want to sound like I'm crying about workload, but I'm crying about workload. It was just there are other interests I have, be it coaching, be it doing other things that I think I'm being involved with clubs directly as opposed to at the league level. But there's a significant amount of stuff there I think to manage with respect to John mentioned auditing earlier, Nick, and that making sure that the minimum standards are actually enforced, and we have either thought of or we have identified what those disciplinary items would be for clubs that are either fined or penalized, whatever the case may be, whatever they're falling short of. Doing that time and time again for hundreds of matches is and then getting calls that, hey, this club had this format for player roster, or they don't have any of the players registered whatsoever, and we're kicking off in 1 minute. Those are less than fun calls to get, but we attempted to work through that best we could. I think, quite honestly, can we improve as a league? Can I improve if I'm in that role again? Absolutely, we all could with the communication, whatever. But communication is a two-way street, and I think a lot of people at the beginning of the season weren't as well versed in what and how to do it, despite the opportunity. By the end of the season, I think we just had it down to a couple of folks who were not as compliant as others. I'll put it that way. I think it's as diplomatic as I can be. I'm almost in a position where I don't have to worry about that crap anymore. I can be as unbiased as I want, but I'll try to be a little
What's
impartial.
A professional or is it professional?
That's a stretch, but I'll take it. Thanks.
No, okay, all good. All right. What are some, as an outsider, what are some of the highlights that you will take away from your time as commish?
A couple of the big ones are just the connections you make with people. It's just like when I started Old Boys and did that, getting to meet people in the soccer community who may not always be aligned with exactly how you see things, but more often than not, we all are crazy enough to be involved at some level, be it in the league as a board of director member or committee member or run your own club. And there are folks I never, ever would have crossed paths with had it not been for this. And then I text on occasion. You two are on that list as well. And that's a very nice thing to have, to have people you can talk not just soccer with, but those are their connection to talk life with. And that's pretty powerful and pretty amazing. Getting to see that the level of soccer that was in our league, like just from a soccer perspective or footballing perspective, was really damn good. There are some outstanding clubs doing things that are amazing, not just on the pitch, but then you look at what they're doing off the pitch. And I know I always call out Lansing Common FC as being, a great example of a brand new club that is in their second year. They just finished their second season, finished second again. And I know you could talk to a couple of those guys up there. They want some hardware But what they're doing in their community, similar to what you guys are doing in DeKalb, is phenomenal. How they've kind of galvanized people in a really cool soccer community on a common theme, and they've embraced the Robin. They've really done it's really cool to see what they've done to help grow that club and grow kind of soccer in the Lansing area. It's been, you've had some ups and downs there with clubs to support identity to get behind. And I think the crew running that club there as a community focused effort is phenomenal. So those are some of the highlights. Getting to talk to folks, doing our in-person AGM. And again, that was my first time participating in an in-person AGM at the soccer level, which isn't sexy, but but having to run it as a league member or as a representative of the league was awesome. And I probably would have stretched your definition of professional, Nick, at that meeting. You were there,
I heard the language, Andrew.
But I think it was awesome to get that many people in a room, talk about what we're wanting to accomplish, how we want to do this thing. Let's go do it. And you got at the end of the season, it went really, really well. So I'm pretty proud of that. I'm pretty humbled to be allowed to be a part of it. It's pretty awesome.
It is. As a BIP player, it's a great league to be involved in. John, anything to add?
No, I think I think one of the things that we took away, just rambling here a little bit, one of the things that we took away from 21 coming into 22 was that the marketing piece of how do we promote our clubs and in many ways make them bigger than they even maybe really are. Like we're just kind of selling our clubs as the best we can get. And I think you saw that, and tell me if you didn't, but I think with Kyle and Joe and Tom and all the marketing guys, they did some really cool stuff. And I felt I wasn't monitoring it daily, but they were very consistent. We had the match of the week stuff out every week, I believe. I just think they did a really good job. And I don't think there's another league that I follow, at least, that does as much to promote, at this level. So I was really pleased that the league, all the board members and the people that step up to help out were willing and able and saw the vision and then carried it out, because I think that's an important thing. Like everybody, when they join a league, they get a nice press release, great. But then to provide that additional content as the year went on, I think the clubs valued that, and their feedback tells us they did. So I thought that was an important thing that we had adapted from 21 to 22, and then looking forward to see where we go in the future with it.
Mm-hmm. For sure. I think it speaks testament to certainly what Kyle did. Joe, we'll talk about Joe, but Kyle, with getting his move up the leagues to Detroit as well, I think that's, his work stands firm. But anyway. Talking of improvement, did you see improvement on the field in terms of the playing standard in any way?
It's hard to say, Nick, because I didn't get a chance. I didn't see any matches in person in the OS Premier League for the second season in a row. It was disappointing.
Hell of a commissioner.
Well, again, as with
too busy
other
with his
folks,
prawn sandwiches. That's what it was.
Possibly. No, the running a club that competed in a different league was took a lot of the time, as well as coaching did. But from games I saw, I think, and just looking at the overall table, the gap. Our top 5 clubs in the West were separated by 7 points, which in a very condensed season, it may sound like a lot, but a game here or there could have really flipped the table there. And quite frankly, we had 3 clubs at 24 points in the West. So that was, and to me, then the club in 4th place conceded 9 goals in 11 matches all season. So to me, that's an incredible tight bunch there. In the East, you had, again, top 5 were separated by 5 points. So there was a lot of, the goal differentials weren't as significantly gapped as they were a year ago. And from what I recall, I have this year's information up in front of me, not last year, not 21's, but you had newcomers who were competing from day one to win. There were some that stuck out as very aggressive, and you had some folks who couldn't get out of their way. They had some issues and they just couldn't put a run together. And it's unfortunate, but I'm sure that those clubs are looking to kind of get back to it and see what happens in 23.
John, did you see any marked uptick? I know we got better, but we're not really talking about this.
Yeah, I agree with Andy. I don't know how you measure it. I mean, congrats to the Bavarians. I mean, they went and won the Amateur Cup, national champions again, and they were obviously our West champion. I mean, whether it's good, great, or whatever. I mean, to your point, Andy, a bunch of teams real close on points with the Bavarians, and I think you could make a case that they're the best amateur club, in the country on the field. And we had a bunch of teams right up there with them. So I mean, I would like to think, at least in the West, we're among the most competitive group. I don't know the whole country, so I shouldn't say that.
It's a dead end question. I apologize for it.
But no,
okay.
but no, I think it is. I think if you are a player that wants to play against the best, I think you can get that in the Midwest Premier League. That's what I think. I think if you're a coach that wants to find a club for their college, your college players to go play, I think the Midwest Premier League is a great option personally. But again, I'm biased, so who knows?
It's the best. It's the best option for that. Quite frankly, you're going to play either any division. You're going to play against some of the best clubs in that, not just state, but in the region. And there's opportunities with other competitions throughout the summer. We talked about the Amateur Cup being one of them. That the Bavarians won their 9th national title in the USASA Amateur Cup. That's not small potatoes. That's competition. And again, Bavarians have produced, through their ranks, and have brought back several Division I college players, some burgeoning pro players as well. I would definitely put the cream of the crop in the Midwest Premier League against anybody at that level in NPSL, USL League 2, other leagues in that area as well. It's a hell of a league.
And by virtue of winning the USAS Cup, they're in the Open Cup now as well.
They qualify for a spot.
Yeah, so we will see. Oh, yeah, interesting. If I give you a magic wand, Andy, without getting into the nitty-gritty of how, what's one thing that you would fix or change in US soccer?
The president. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were talking about Midwest Premier League. Sorry. Maybe both.
Maybe both. And the one wave of the wand would be a favor to somebody. That's a really good question, Nick. And I don't know. I mean, everyone thinks that, I don't think this is a podcast or I'm definitely not prepared to have a pro-rel conversation. Other than I think this is not the podcast because everyone just switch off. Right.
I'm not.
But I also think that's a simplistic view, right? I think there's so much more to it, but to me, it would be the pursuit of how we, as not just a league or group of clubs, really emphasize this level of soccer, the quasi, like the post youth club, maybe not traditional college pathway, not professional, but maybe in between, that truly is a spot where you can identify exceptional talent that could be. I don't think we do enough here to grow that level of soccer to try to provide our athletes with either coaching opportunities or some other soccer opportunities as a pathway for them. And I think this league has done that, and we've tinkered with the idea of what would a longer season look like. How do we gauge interest? Does it make sense? And it's hard as hell to do because there's a host of folks that rely on college athletes to kind of fulfill their roster obligations. So there's no real one good way to do it, but I think advocating for this level of soccer and getting support, be it financial or infrastructure or whatever from U.S. Soccer to help this level to manage to again, we're all doing, the vast majority of folks are doing it for the right reasons, to be in a community, be involved, bring people together for the game that we all love. They're not doing it to make money. If you can do it to make money, you're way smarter than I am, because I don't know how the hell that's possible, having done it for 5 years on a club level. So that's the biggest thing.
I like that. It looks like John's taking notes, like he's never thought of reinvigorating the college system or something. But I find it interesting, just as a byproduct. I always find it interesting that when you ask guys like you and guys that are involved in soccer clubs, the Johns and whoever else is, the answer invariably is the playing pipeline, the playing side of things, which makes sense, except for the fact that you are at World Cups and you are consistently competing against the best in the world. I don't think there's an issue with the top end player development. Obviously, there's a big drop off from the mid level MLS down to where we are, and there's not an awful lot in between, with all due respect to NISA and USL and whatever else. But and clearly that needs to be addressed. But I don't know. I think the issues. This is a terribly bad form answering your own question. I think the issues are more off the field in terms of the American populace understanding of what it is to support non-major league sport.
That's a good point. Maybe I was really bad at answering your question in that way.
That's why we start the seasons with you, Andy, to set that bar where we want it.
That's I missed maybe my last time on this podcast, guys.
Promise?
Oh no, you can't get rid of me that easily, Nick. Nice try. No, but to your point, in terms of the clubs, I guess for those, it works in a parallel path. For those players' opportunities, it's not just the playing to develop and get them opportunities to play professionally or whatever, but it's that spot to do a sport you love and continue to play. If there aren't clubs there that exist, there's not that opportunity. In order to make sure that we have those clubs, there needs to be infrastructure. There needs to be opportunity and investment downward. In order to do that, it is an educational piece where you need to understand that it's what are we trying to accomplish, and what makes sense with this level of soccer. To me, it's truly about getting together, watching a game at your local club, supporting that local side, and having two hours to just forget about all the crap you've had to deal with all week at work. And we only have 10 weeks, 12, 14 weeks in this league format currently to do that. And of that, half of that is a home match. So you only have in your community 5 to 7 weekends available to really influence positively from a on the field product. The idea, the pipe dream that some of us have, I think the three of us have, is how do we make it longer term, more sustainable, and more impactful? Because again, I think there's great things that can come from going to a soccer match. It's opportunity for communion with your fellow supporters or your fellow people, opportunity to meet new people and understand kind of the total mix of your community, what it looks like. Soccer does that better than anything else to me. But
Andy, so Nick called my ass out for taking notes, and the thing I wrote down, as a matter of fact, was culture. And Nick and I have had this talk far too many times. There's no culture. There's two problems. There's no culture for the sport here yet, in mass, right? In big numbers, and we have to figure out how to change that. And I think the other thing, and this is important, as of us recording this, our DKCU Academy is actually have their first training sessions officially tonight. Of course, people ask Jenny and I questions about the academy, even though we don't have anything directly to do with it. And there's a lot of talk about development, and is my kid on the right team, and are they this, and can we do this, and they're not good enough to do this, and all of this craziness that I've been a part of is because I love the game. It has nothing to do with my talent level, or as now or ever. But but we have to teach people to love the game, playing the game, watching the game. We have to create those cultural moments. That's why I am more impressed, obviously, with a club that does off the field stuff than I am with a club that wins all the time. And I want to win all the time, selfishly, but I've seen what we've done as a club in our community, and now that the two youth clubs have become our academy, those kids that are taking pictures of their new academy swag that they just got last week, these kids are like super proud to wear this stuff, right? We are creating love for the game that is in many ways a generational thing. You know, we're creating that. I tell people, kids are going to get better if they love it, right? If I love going to dance, or I love going to gymnastics, or I love going to basketball, I'm going to get better at it. I'm not going to get better at it if I'm going because I got signed up. So the first thing you have to do is make the kids want to come, make them love it. When they love it, they don't even realize that they're developing and getting better. And I think that's one of the things that coaches, parents, we just have to make them fall in love. And I think that's one of the biggest challenges, as Nick brought up, is we don't support anything under professional here, really. And we have to create those moments in our communities where we're bringing people together, making friends, where we have stories to tell later about, remember when we did that away trip to Lansing, or whatever it is. We have to create those memories, and that ties that relationship back to the club, which ultimately makes it more sustainable long term and allows, it just opens up so many opportunities. And I think it's a long game. It doesn't shift overnight, but the cultural shift is upon us if we put an emphasis on off the field instead of just on the field.
Agreed. It's that age-old dichotomy between team and club, isn't it, realistically?
Yeah.
I think. Oh, okay, cool. So what lies ahead, Andy? Without giving your diary appointments or whatever, like if you're getting rid of all these burdens on your time, what are you going to do with that extra time?
More soccer. Short answer. This fall and probably for the foreseeable future, do what I can to be more active in my community coach. So actually, as we're talking now, I'm heading out to high school practice now. It's my first time at a high school staff, so it's kind of exciting. I've been fortunate enough. My youngest son has gotten into coaching himself at the club that I last coached him. So that's pretty cool to kind of see that happen. And then we'll see. I think there are a couple clubs I would like to work with directly in a more, I don't say necessarily hands-on, but more involved manner that I couldn't do as commissioner. And hopefully, that'll be something we can, I can not necessarily on this forum, but in some form or fashion, kind of walk through. I'm definitely excited about that. That's the next soccer chapter, and then outside of that, we'll see what happens with the old boys. But that's a definitely a project of love that sometimes can drive me a little crazy.
We need to get that Indianapolis hole in the league filled, whether it's with you or the Indiana hole, rather, not the Indianapolis hole. There you go. I didn't make a mistake after all that. But yeah, it's a nice dividing line between the East and the West. But we could do better with it, I'm sure.
Yeah.
So yeah. Have we had interest thus far in expanding that number of 27 up to 30 or 35 or 40 for 2023? Is this news in the pipeline, or phone calls happening, or what?
Well, I mean, there's been a number of clubs that we've had conversations with. Yeah, I mean, I think really generally the people that are out running clubs are looking at their options, and I think we catch their eye, and that's all we want to do is be an option. We don't think we're a good fit for everybody, but we think there's certainly a spot where we are the best fit as well for the right club. So, yeah, the conversations are happening nearly daily with clubs across the region. And a couple things we've done. We actually have a long-term plan. We kind of call it the 2030 plan. But we've actually got a strategy to grow amateur soccer in Region 2 of the USASA and work with the staff at USASA to try to, build up their tournaments and some of the things they do. And
that's interesting. I was meaning to ask, have you had any dealings with the Suits? The people who nominally run this sport outside of the Midwest Premier League. Are they aware of the Midwest Prem? Are they interested? Are they threatened? Are they engaging? What?
No, we have had conversations actually more frequently than you'd expect. No, very supportive of what we're doing. Sort of try, obviously without tiers or levels firmly described, it's still a little bit of the Wild West. But no, I think they generally understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, and I think they're aware that we're sort of on the rise. I don't think we're out kicking our coverage with what we're asking clubs to do that want to be taken seriously. And to be honest with you, you have to take yourself seriously. The way some of these clubs operate, very sponsor heavy. You gotta go out and sell that you're more than just a team, right? You're not just 12 mates out on a Sunday morning. You have to do something else. And us holding clubs to a high standard helps them sort of have that professionalism in their community as well and be taken seriously. So I think it is what it is. Like I said, I don't think we're for everybody, but I think there's a lot of potential. And from the clubs that have reached out to us, I think there's also, I think this growth that we saw of 30%, 25%, I think that'll be fairly consistent for a while, because I think the clubs exist. And especially when you get into World Cup years, I think we'll see some more teams popping up next year, and maybe those teams evolve into clubs, and on it goes.
Yeah, I mean, I know we've spoken in the past about my my desire for the league and leagues generally, regional leagues, to become less white, bluntly, whatever that looks like. But that's a conversation for another day. And I don't believe it's necessarily something a league can drive so much as you are responsive to whoever shows an interest. Again, you don't go and pick and choose and say we want this club and pilfer them from someone else. Andy, you still with us? Oh, look at that! You can multitask. Okay, cool. I'm going to wind it down just because as you said, you've got somewhere to be. So, on my sole words, thank you so much for everything you've done for growing the league and for giving me a shield from John in the past. And Lord only knows what it's going to be like without you there to bounce ideas off. But I truly believe that the league wouldn't have gone the way it had done without you at the helm. So genuinely, thank you very much. I wish you all the best in your future endeavours. You will, of course, be welcome on this podcast again, should you have something soccer-worthy to talk about. But if it's just, bench press 450, no one's
but now
interested.
I know the forum to kind of announce that to the world. So I've got a new goal. No, Nick, I appreciate those kind of words. I definitely do. But again, for me, I probably it's somewhat more selfish on my end, where I've been able to kind of really pick some brains from people who have done a really good job of running clubs, and get involved with them and see what it means to their communities to have this type of outlet to either build a club or participate with their local areas. So it's been pretty awesome. I really enjoy kind of the banter that participating with the board afforded me. Some more than others, I think. Some were very good at giving me banter. Ibaldo, especially. He had a nice, really sweet memo on a note he sent to me. I can't repeat it as I'm heading to high school soccer practice, if that tells you anything. But if you know Ibaldo, he meant it with love. But yeah, no, that's. But yeah, and I also realize I do have to help kick off the season on this podcast, so I can set the bar low enough for some of the guests to kind of step over.
has come for leaving, fear now we shall return. We were so glad we could make it, but so sad we gotta run. Well, it might be a long time till we raise another glass. You can rest assured that next time we'll have ourselves a laugh. Yeah, we'll have ourselves a laugh. Away.